Hi, uh, new new computer. I'm using the built-in webcam. I know it maxes out at 720p, but for now it's just more convenient for me. Once I can figure out how to get my main camera hooked in a direct line, I'll be using that. I've let the entirety of lockdown go by without getting productive, and I would like to fix that. Best way for me to do it is a vlog talking about topics that interest me, and one of the biggest topics to interest me is writing. Nobody's really brought up this topic for a while, so I figured that means now might be the best time to talk about it because tempers are going to be low. Continuity. When writing a fiction story, someone is writing one of two different categories of fiction: high concept or low concept. This refers to how much of the setting needs to be explained. Low concept means not much needs explaining. It's basically the real world. I would count Die Hard as an example of low concept. Despite the events that are being shown being over the top and extraordinary, what's being done, what's being used, and where the events are happening and when the events are happening, those are all real world things. It's set in the 80s, it's set in a high rise, and it's set in a specific city. So we get that. High concept would be something like Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, things where the majority of the setting needs to be explained. Harry Potter, despite being set in the 90s in technically the real world, the wizarding world is where the events happen, so far enough removed, it's high concept. When someone is writing a high concept fiction story, their primary focus is to sell that setting to the audience. And there's a hierarchy of dependencies that connect the audience and the writer. The audience is following the story. The story is carried by the characters. The characters are the product of the environment fits into a setting, and the setting is defined by the rules. The rules are the most important part of that. If any part of that chain, however, fails, what's above it fails to properly convey to the audience, and everything below it loses cohesion. And all of it hinders on those rules. Those need to be consistent. Everything needs to be consistent, but if those aren't, everything else fails. The Disney Star Wars movies, the Disney Star Wars trilogy specifically, that failed both in continuity and consistency. So the events weren't consistent, the rules weren't consistent, the characters weren't consistent, everything just kind of collapsed. There was a show that I was watching, and I might dedicate a full video to this, or its own video to this. Every season retconned something of the previous seasons. It was the weirdest thing because none of the decisions made any sense. A character, the main villain of the franchise, got retconned between seasons 2 and 3. His season 2, his appearance was that he was communicating from a faraway location to the main villains of that season. Third season, they decide, no, he's not communicating long distance. That's him. He's stuck in the communicator. He's lost his corporeal body, and now he's stuck here. That didn't need to happen. But the people that I needed to talk about that. I need to talk about all of the continuity and the rules, because there are fans out there who learn the rules. You want these people because that's enthusiasm. A fan that learns your rules is telling you that your writing was worth learning. I don't even want to say that you don't anger those people, because the act of angering them is the act of insulting your own work. You're telling your own audience, your work, your story, your characters, none of that is worth learning. If you're going to be inconsistent with your events and your rules, you are only denigrating your own product. And if a company is willing to hire someone who would willingly denigrate their product to such an extent, they know what they're getting into and they know what the risk is. I hope to make more of these videos at some point. Probably, I'm going to try and do it more regularly, but I need to talk about things that pertain to entertainment, because that's my focus. I wanted to get into writing. Real world stuff happened, but I can at least talk about what I learned about writing and storytelling just from my time in school, and hopefully I can save somebody some tuition money. Uh, with luck, I'll be getting better at this and more fluent in my language. Wow, I'm really out of practice. Hopefully, I'll be able to fix this. Talk to you later.